In this video, we're going to be exploring one keyword that has been trending for a while and is still trending. And when you know keywords, this opens up a whole new opportunity to be able to source items that you may not otherwise source, maybe lower end brands, off brands, even unbranded items. And it helps you be able to get more money for these items. So let's dive in. If you're new to the channel, then welcome. My name is Lee Meyer. I'm a stay-at-home mom of four, and I've made well over $100,000 flipping used clothes and other items on sites like eBay, Poshmark, and Mercari. And I have to get really creative because I don't live in a big town. Luxury brands are not something that I find every day, actually very rarely. And so it really forced me to get creative with the items that I source. And a big piece of that has been knowing what styles shoppers are after and what keywords they're using to shop. Keywords are the thing that get your items in front of the right buyers, get views on your items, and get your items found and sold. Now, before we discuss this particular keyword, I do want to let you know that I'm on a mission to help as many resellers as I can be able to reach that $100,000 mark for themselves even this year. And I've got a ton of free goodies that you'll find down here in the description below this video. This is where you're going to find things like my best brands list, the list of 150 brands that has led me to the $100,000 mark and beyond. You'll also find a link to sign up for my free $100,000 reseller challenge. In that free challenge, I show you exactly how to reach $100,000 for yourself this year. It's not about hustling harder. It's not about putting in more time. And in that free challenge, I show you how to get there in very minimal time, very part-time hours. You're also going to discover the very best things to be selling right now in today's market. All right, so let's go ahead and dive on into this keyword that we're going to be discussing. And this is one that can apply to a lot of items. I'll help you out throughout this video of what types of items you can apply this keyword to be able to get more eyes on your items, get it in front of more shoppers, and start bringing in more sales. All right, so what I've done is I've gone through and done some research on Poshmark as well as eBay to be able to show you sold items that are using this keyword that we're talking about. And this keyword is trending in multiple places and it will apply to other platforms. If you're selling on Depop or Mercari or Facebook Marketplace, people are looking for this keyword there as well. But I had to limit what I did put into this video. And some platforms like Depop don't have a really good way to be able to search sold items. It's actually not even available. So it does make it hard to do research on some of the other platforms. So we're going to start out on Poshmark. What I've tried to do is pull in brands that are more lower end. There's some good brands that are mixed in. I'll try to point those out as I go along. But really what I want this to do for you is to be able to open up the possibility opportunities when you're out sourcing to be able to source more items that you maybe otherwise wouldn't source. So this first item that we're looking at is from a brand that's called Jessica London. It is a size 18, so that is one thing that does help. Sometimes with lower end brands or no name brands is those bigger sizes. And so the keyword that we're talking about for this video is the keyword mob wife. So you're going to see that in the title of most of these items. Some of the items will have it in the description. And when you're searching, whatever platform that is, eBay or Poshmark or Mercari, the search engines will actually pull keywords from the description as well. So if you don't have room in the title, you can always put it down there in the description. But I just want to throw out that reminder because if you don't happen to see it here in the title, it is in the description. Most of these are in the title though. So this is Jessica London. And with this one, this is a trench coat and it's also animal print. And this is really indicative of the mob wife trend. I'm going to be showing you some different looks that can fit with this, but animal print, any kind of trench coat, that is really going to be a good item to use this keyword for. So that was sold for $35. Now, this is an item that's actually unbranded. They did put a brand in here as source unknown, but it's actually unbranded. It actually does have a split in the seam as well. So here is this item, not the best of pictures with this one. There's a little bit better picture there. So you can see it's a bodycon as well as it has some ruching around the side of it. And then that sold for $30 without it being any particular brand. This is another item where the brand tag is missing. And this is just a black fur coat, and it does have a little bit of an animal print to it. It is a little bit more subtle because it is a black on black, but hopefully you can kind of make that out there with the texture of this item. And so that one sold for $45. This one is a good brand, Donnybrook, but there's definitely certain items that are going to sell for more than others. And so with this one, this is a faux fur coat. So here is what it looks like. And that one sold for $90. This is a brand. I'm going to zoom in on that Dubrowski and Pearl Binder. I have not heard of this one before. Definitely a more vintage tag. And this is more of a shortcut jacket, a shrug. And there's what that looks like. That one sold for $30. Then this is at Abercrombie and Fitch, and this is a brand that can be hit or miss. There's items that do really well that sell for, hundreds of dollars, and then there's other items that don't sell for quite as much. And so this is where one place where keywords can really help with aesthetic, those style-based keywords. And so again, Mob Wife is the one that we're looking at, and this is a faux fur jacket. That one sold for $65. This one is new with tags, so I do want to point that out. Pretty much everything else I think I've got in this video is pre-owned condition. I did see another similar Abercrombie and Fitch faux fur that was new with tags that sold for around $120. So this is a brand that's called Bad Apple. Unfortunately, they don't have a good picture of this one, but this is another faux fur item. This is not, animal print, but it's still a good item to use that Mob Wife keyword with. That one sold for $50. Another faux fur, but this one happens to be from Zara. Again, that's another hit and miss brand, kind of like Abercrombie and Fitch. There's some items that do really well, and then maybe most don't. So this one did sell for $96. This is Monterey Fashions, and there were several of this brand selling with this Mob Wife. So be on the lookout for this brand when you're going for that Mob Wife aesthetic. And this is an animal print faux fur coat. That one sold for $40. This is a Jones of New York, which is typically a brand that I recommend more steering clear of. There's, certain items that you may want to pick up. And this would be an example of one of them, depending on how much, you pay for this. It sold for $35. So if you could pick it up for $5, but it's definitely about the look with this, with that collar, as well as that faux fur. And this is one, that does fit that Mob Wife keyword very well. This is a brand De Launay. I'm guessing this is a leather item. So that is what it looks like. It's just black leather. And then that one sold for $45. I do want to point out they use some other keywords in here in addition to my Mob Wife, one being e-girl, alternative alt is what that is, goth, and punk. This one is another faux fur item, but it's actually a vest and it's actually pink. So it's not black, it's not brown, it's not animal print. Show you what it looks like here in a second, but this is what that unreal fur tag looks like. So there it's pink, very long fur. And this is another one where they did stack up on those keywords. So I actually do recommend using 3 to 5 keywords, aesthetic, style based keywords in your listing to be able to get them in front of the right buyers. Don't spam, don't use keywords that don't apply, but really go for those ones that fit the look. And this is an example of that where they used Mob Wife as well as Barbie as well as Clueless. And there's a couple more down here in the description where it says bubblegum and then kidcore. So all of those do fit this item pretty well. So that one sold for $50. If you're wondering what those aesthetic keywords that are, or maybe you have a hard time remembering them when you go to list just like I do have a poster. We'll link to that over here. You can have them all right in front of you, typing up a title, take few seconds versus minutes long of research trying to figure out which keyword, trying to remember, which one to use. So this is an item from the brand Guess. This is another one that is a very hit or miss brand. A lot of items don't sell for that much, but if you know the right keywords, if you know the right styles that people are shopping for, which is what these aesthetics are, then that can be money. So this is what this one looks like. It's got that animal trim around the collar as well as the sleeves, and then that one sold for $89. This is a good brand to be on the lookout for. Definitely a bolo when it comes to brands. This is called Redone. If you have not seen that tag before, there it is. This is actually a cropped jacket. And it does have that animal print. So they used Mob Wife with this one, and that one sold for $135. This is a New York and company. So for me, this would be what I would consider more of a lower end, lower resale value is the way I should probably put that. And this is another jacket that has that trim around the collar as well as a little bit at the cuffs. And then that one sold for $82. This is a Buffalo David Bitton. So there's the tag there. If you haven't seen that, pretty mainstream brand. And the jacket there, it does have a belt around the middle of that. That one sold for $54. This is Calvin Klein, another one of those brands to be careful with and to really go after styles with that brand. And so this one sold for $31. This is a bodycon or sheath dress. It does look like it's a little bit more tighter fitting, so I probably would have gone with maybe bodycon for this one. And so that one sold for $31 using that mob wife aesthetic keyword. Another Donnybrook item, and so this one sold for $200. There is what this one looks like. Absolutely beautiful long length faux fur coat. Another Jones, New York item, another one of those brands that I kind of really try to be careful with because most items are not worth, very much as far as a resale value of them. So this is a faux fur brown tannish color, and then that one sold for $50. This is a black faux fur from Y2K era. This is a brand that is called Mix It. And here's what this one looks like. That one sold for $65 with that mob wife keyword. Wilson's leather trench coat. So this can be another type of item that you can fit in with that mob wife aesthetic. I'll show you that what it looks like here in a second, but they did use some other keywords in here too as whimsy goth as well as grunge. So you'll see those there in the title, but this is what this coat looks like. So it's just a longer length black leather, coat. This is another Wilson's leather. This is their line that's called Pele Studio. There we go. So you can hopefully see that there on the tag underneath Wilson's leather where it says Pele Studio. This is another little bit longer length black leather coat. And then that one sold for $68. I also want to point out that they used a keyword old money. So that can be another keyword that fits with some of these items. This is another lower resale value brand, Worthington. And then this is the tag there zoomed in. Here's what that jacket looks like. And that one sold for $33 again with that animal print. Anything animal print, those items usually scream mock wife. This is actually a suit dress. So you can see that it's double breasted, but this one did fit with the mob wife aesthetic, I believe. And so there is the Tahari tag, and that one sold for $60. Now, I do want to take a second to invite you to my membership, the Empowered Reseller. This is where I'm personally able to connect with members. I'm able to answer questions. I'm able to even do things like store reviews, account reviews, listing reviews for my members. And it comes with a huge course vault as well as a supportive community. And I would love to be able to welcome you into our community soon. This next item is from the brand Cache, which can be a good item to come across. And this is a bodycon that is an animal print. It also has that V-neck, which can be really reminiscent of this mob wife look. And then that one sold for $30. This is a brand that's called Venus. And let me show you what this dress looks like. So it's kind of a double look with this one where it's the animal print on the top. Two-tone is what they called it. So animal print on the top and then solid attached skirt with that. That one sold for $30 with that aesthetic keyword. This is ASOS, which is another brand to be careful with. And if you can pair it up with one of these keywords that buyers are shopping for, that can be a way to be able to get more money for this brand. So this is another bodycon tight fitting dress. and it is that animal print. So if you come across, that bodycon as well as animal print, that's really where a good place to use that mob wife keyword. This is a dress where they actually didn't have animal print, but it's still a bodycon. They went ahead and used the mob wife keyword anyway. They did spell it wrong there, but it was spelled right there down in the description. And this is from Diesel. So there's the tag. You can make out here that it is a mesh overlay with this dress. So it's just a basic black dress, pretty much, besides for that mesh does have that bodycon fit, and then that one sold for $30 with that aesthetic. This is another new with tags item, so I had just a couple of these in here, but I had to show this because this is from Express, which is a brand that, it's again another one of those hit or miss whether they do well or not. And with this one, they did use mob wife down in the description, and you won't see it up there in the title, but it is there in the description, and search engines will search for that. So this is just a velvet off the shoulder dress with kind of a twist detail there at the neckline. That one sold for $50. This is International Concepts, typically a brand that does not sell for much, but because of the keywords that were used, in particular the mob wife keyword, this one sold for $43. And you're going to see that down here in the description that they used mob wife, mob wives, office career work. And so there is what that dress looks like. It's a button down dress. So $43. This is a brand, Dame Inc. And I'm not super familiar with this one, but it does seem to be a fairly good brand. If you come across this, I'll show you here in a second. But with this one, this is just an animal print two-piece set. So it's a top as well as the matching jacket. That one sold for $36. So I did go ahead and pull up sold items from this brand on Poshmark, and they can be pretty good prices. So we got, anywhere from 20. The one we just looked at, I think, is this one, $50, $36, 28, 36, 25. So keep your eye out for this one, 39, 30. Especially with these more unusual. So there's one down here that is a new with tags. That one sold for $79. Topshop, definite hit or miss brand. And again, pays to know keywords when it comes to brands like this. So here is this one. It's not animal print, but it does have that metallic gold finish to this item. And then that one sold for $30. It also has a peplum hem on it as well as deep V-neck, which can really go with that mob wife aesthetic look. This is an item from Chico's, which is another one brand that I consider kind of hit or miss or maybe a lower resale value. And so this is their line that is called Easy Wear. So the tag there says Easy Wear by Chico's. And this is an animal print. So anytime you have an animal print, that can be a really good indication to go ahead and throw in that mob wife keyword. They also used rockabilly, which I'm not sure if that one quite fits. That one sold for $30. This is Guess Jeans. It's another brand that a lot of items don't sell for a lot, but when you know what to look for, when you know the right keywords and the styles that people are shopping for, it can really help. So this one sold for $35. And it is a halter top, and that is pretty reminiscent of Y2K. So you'll see that there in the title as well. This next one is from White House Black Market. Again, another brand that you really need to know what styles are selling to be able to get the most money for the item. Otherwise, a lot of items aren't really worth picking up. So this is just a simple tank top that happens to have that animal print. They use mob wife. That one sold for $30. We're going to talk about shoes here for a second. This is a pair of Sam Edelman's, and these sold for $60. They're just a pump. And so that can be a good place to throw in with shoes anytime you come across pumps like that, especially if they're animal print, black boots even. This next one that we're going to look at is a Steve Madden, but this is actually a crystalled booty. And so that one sold for $42. Again, Steve Madden isn't a brand that normally sells for very much. This is another brand that's not very well known. It's called Mark Fisher. So I'm going to zoom in on that on the bottom. You can kind of make out an M there. And these are not black, but they're white. They're cream off white. But they do have the small heel on them as well as they're a tall boot. And then that one sold for $34 with that keyword. Now I do have a new keyword poster specifically for shoes. And this helps you be able to accurately describe your shoe items, get them in front of the right buyers. I'm going to link to that over here if that would be helpful to you. We're jumping on over to eBay. And with this mob wife aesthetic, this is a keyword that is trending on eBay as well as Poshmark. A lot of times, Poshmark is really geared towards a lot of that fashion style based keywords. And sometimes those types of keywords aren't used on eBay so much. But with this keyword, it definitely is being used. And buyers are after this keyword on eBay too. So this first item that we're looking at is actually a plus size item. It's from a brand that's called Gallery Woman. And so this is a jacket that's got kind of a zebra print to it. I'm going to go through a few of these pictures because it is a reversible item. So you can see it has that zebra trim on the solid side of it. And then the inside is where that zebra print is. And then that one sold for $35. And again, I'm really going after some of those brands that are maybe lesser known, lower value brands. Donnybrook is definitely a more higher end brand. It can hold its resale value. We looked at a few of these on Poshmark. This is one over on eBay that's a little bit more of an unusual design. So there's the tag there. This is actually a giraffe print. So there's what that looks like. And so that one sold for almost $90. So you're gonna see here that it says mob gangster wife there in the title. This is a brand that I'm not familiar with called Leather Cut, but it does say custom made. So if you do come across any words like that on tags, that can be a really good indication if it's a brand that you don't recognize right away that that is a valuable item. So this is a leather skirt. You've got a little bit of a color blocking on here, orange as well as black. And so this does fit with that mob wife keyword, I believe. And that one sold for $95. This is a cabbie item, so that is a newer cabbie tag. And this is a faux fur jacket. That one sold for $137. You're going to see Mob Wife there, as well as City Girl and Teddy. This is an item where it doesn't have a brand tag on it, but it is a made in the USA item. This is a faux fur animal print jacket. That one sold for $100. This is a Vanity Fair item, so I wanted to show the tag on this because this is an older item where it is made in the USA. You're going to see that on the back of that tag. And this is what this item is. So it is a long length nightgown, and then that one sold for $65 with that aesthetic keyword. This is another Wilson's leather line called Maxima. And this is a very unusual design, but I think this one did fit that mob wife aesthetic very well. And that one sold for $149. This is a Jones of New York. So we saw this brand over on Poshmark, and this is again over on eBay. This is just a brown faux fur jacket. That sold for $100. And as I'm saying that, I'm noticing that that sold line is gone. So I'm not sure what's going on there. But these are sold items. You're going to see that across the picture. They do say or best offer, but if a best offer is accepted on eBay, there'll actually be a strikeout through the price. So this is a Forever 21 item, and this does have very long fur on it. See if I can get a tag picture there for you. So there's the tag there. And then that one sold for $41. You know, typically a brand that you would normally stay away from. Fashion Nova is a definite brand to steer clear of, but in this item, it's a little bit different because it does fit with a certain aesthetic that buyers are after right now. So here is what that jacket looks like, that longer length faux fur. That one sold for $35 for, you know, what is a pretty low end brand, fast fashion brand. This is a brand that's called Just in Time. So there's the mark on the front side of the tag. It's a little bit hard to make out there. And then the back of the tag is where it has the actual brand name, Just in Time. That is a USA brand. And here is what this looks like, another faux fur item. It does have a large bow on the front. That one sold for almost $63. This is a handbag. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom in on this. Called Samir. That's the brand name, but it is genuine leather as well as made in the USA. So if you come across something like that where you're seeing genuine leather, you're seeing made in the USA, that can be a good indication that that's a quality brand. So with this handbag, this did really fit that mob wife aesthetic with different kind of reptile leathers on this. So you can see that there's a variety of different leathers on this handbag, on that clutch. And so definitely interesting design with that one. That one sold for $68. This is another handbag that did fit with that mob wife aesthetic. So you can see that there's some sort of a jaguar, cheetah, leopard. I get them all mixed up. When in doubt, use animal print. And there's what that bag looks like. Not any big name brand, not any sort of brand. There's actually not a brand tag on this item. It is unbranded. So you can see that down there in the item specifics that it's unbranded. But that one sold for $50 because they did use some good keywords of the mob wife, as well as they put in punk and edgy and Y2K. And if you're interested in selling bags, being able to describe them, what type of bag it is, what type of hardware, what type of closure, that is really important. So I do have a poster that covers specifically all of those keywords that relate to handbags and bags. This is another guess item. So again, a lot of resellers do steer clear with of this brand, stay away from it with a 10-foot pole, whatever that is, but it does really pay to know what items are selling. So this is just another faux fur animal print. That one sold for $90. This is a Land's End item that has a metallic look. So not an animal print one again, but this is another example where you could use that mob wife aesthetic is with more of those metallic, shiny looking fabrics. And so there's just a puffer vest. That one sold for about $36. This is a vintage brand called American Signature. So there's the tag there for you. It is a made in the USA item. This is just white faux fur jacket, and then that one sold for $40. This is an item from the brand Cachet. I think I'm saying that right. Hope I'm saying that right. This is a two-piece set, but this is one that you may not it may not jump out to you right away as mob wife, but with that coloring, with that kind of goldish coloring, there's a little bit of animal print mixed in there as well as black. That keyword does fit this one pretty well. So that one sold for about $90. This is the brand Blair. So you can see the tag there. This is a faux fur jacket with a contrast collar on that. And then that one sold for $39. I do want to point out that that is a 3XL. So that can help boost up prices. This is a jacket from Andrew Mark, a little bit of an older item with this one. So this is a black leather jacket with an animal faux fur trim on that animal print. That one sold for $50. This is from Massimo, aka Target. This is a little shrug that's faux fur, just brown. That one sold for $45. This is another guess item. And here's what this looks like. This is a leather jacket with that faux fur around the collar. That one sold for $65. This is from a brand called Astraka. It is made in England. So anytime you see items where it is made in Europe, that can be an indication that that may be a more valuable item. So here is what this jacket looks like. Not sure if you would call this animal print or what exactly that is. Maybe skunk? Is it skunk print? I don't know. That one sold for $45. I also want to point out that they did use another good keyword in here of Cruella. I don't know if it's zebra print. They put zebra. I wouldn't call that zebra. So they use mob wife and then as well as Cruella, like Cruella de Vil. And I do cover that kind of thing in my pop culture guide, anything related to celebrities, TV shows, movies, and Cruella is a definite thing that people are shopping for. So that is inside my pop culture guide along with so much more. So I'm going to link to that over here. This is a pair of pants from Ralph Lauren. These are a 16W. They are also 100% silk. So I want to point that out because that can boost sale prices. And this is what these pants look like, but they did use that mob wife, and I do believe that that does fit this item pretty well. That was sold for $70. This is a jacket from Alfani, like one of those brands that you want to be a little bit more cautious with, careful with. Here's what this jacket looks like. It's got a little bit of a texture to that faux fur. And then that one sold for $40. I'm noticing that they also did use a couple other keywords in here of old money as well as indie sleaze, which I will have to cover in another video because that's another really interesting keyword. This is a jacket from Wilson's Leather and it is thinsulate, so you're going to see that thinsulate lining. It is zipped in, so that's why you see that zipper up there at the top. Here is what this coat looks like, and then that one sold for $56 with that mob wife keyword. This is from the brand Splendid, so there's the tag there, just a basic animal print coat. That one sold for $45. This is a dress from the brand Dress Barn, from the store Dress Barn. And so here's what this looks like. It's actually a sheath, and it does have floral print, which is a little bit maybe outside of mob wife, but with the look of this dress, it has a deeper V on the back of that dress, and it is a little bit more form fitting. It is a sheath, and that one sold for about $60. This is a brand that's called Shulami. This is just a trench style coat. You can see there, it's got those big buttons on it, as on the cuffs there as well. And then that one sold for $30. So I want to encourage you to take action on what you learned today and go and apply this keyword to the items that you already have listed and see if it drives up your views further and starts bringing in more sales for you. I would love to hear if it does. Just let me know in the comments if you try it out. And again, if you haven't yet signed up for that free $100,000 reseller challenge, you're going to want to do that now. $100,000 is closer than you think, more doable than you think, and I know that you can do it. And again, you'll find a link for that free challenge down here in the description below this video. Now, if you're looking for more aesthetic, style-based keywords, I do have another video where I go in depth on multiple keywords that buyers are shopping for, so I will link to that up here. Thank you so much for hanging out with me, and I will catch you in the next video soon.